Hey everybody! So I'm back for another episode review of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Unpaid in Full, Season 6, Episode 10. Okay, so we get back to the baby shower where Tiff is dizzy and Lou is trying to get her water. Water! Water? Like, I call 911. Like, I don't even understand why it took this long to call 911. So Stormy goes to get Kimmy because Kimmy's a nurse. Kimmy checks on her, asks her about her blood pressure, so on and so forth. And so Stormy asked, she said, well, can I call 911? Because at this point, to me, that's like the fucking obvious thing to do, too. And Tiffany said no emphatically. And I'm sitting up here like, what? And Kimmy goes, why would you say no? Like, she's still talking to her like a nurse. And she says, it's just when I open my eyes that I see stars. And Kimmy's like, you do realize that's a problem. And she's like, I don't know what Tiffany is thinking right now. On top of everything else, she's pregnant. She was like, by definition, something like this happening while you're pregnant is an emergency. So, the people around her, people she's calling in, her family or whatever, around her are still saying, "Oh, she'll be fine. Just lay her down. Just give her some water." I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like that. Like honestly, there is that country shit. Anything but go to the hospital. But I was just thinking to myself, is it that they didn't want to pay the ambulance bill? I know it's expensive. I know it's a good over $1,000. But I'm just like, you can get lower payments, boo, to pay it back if need be. And I'm just sitting up here like, it's a good thing Kimmy was around. And those other people because they may not have taken Tiffany to the hospital. Tiffany didn't say she wanted to go to the hospital. The way they were talking about it though was as if it had happened before. But regardless, you need to go to the hospital. And it was, and then before we know it, Lou was taking her in his truck. Like it was given we don't want to pay the bill. And and I know healthcare is tough in this country. Good insurance is hard to come by. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. My issue, however, is with people who try to get on here and play big and try to act like they got so much, and this is the kind of fuck shit y'all doing. Anyway, Marceau and his plans for another empty lot. Okay, so Marceau, no, not Marceau, Maurice asked, his brother Marceau about Scott Manor. He is blaming Tisha for the slowness of Scott Manor and says Tisha doesn't have any plans. And he says this until Tisha shows up on the empty lot with her heels that she should not have worn to an empty lot with rocks in Alabama. Um, Sir, both you and Tisha are unproductive when it comes to building this home. It should not take this long, particularly for people who are in real estate to get this together. I don't even know why y'all keep talking about this house. Like y'all keep moving to different houses. Just settle somewhere. Y'all know y'all ain't leaving Huntsville. Like just cut it out. Just fucking cut it out. So they take a picture of them breaking ground for whatever. Um, and Marceau is talking, he's comparing his business relationship with Gino. And he was like, how quickly, we were able to make progress and get things off the ground very quickly. And then Marceau starts talking about how him and Martell's relationship, kind of went down, how they had planned to do these same things, but they just couldn't get it together. So he says he wishes the comeback group could do the same thing. Then he brings up the expo. This is all on the groundbreaking lot. He says he's not paying anybody. He's asking people to actually pay with their time. Marcel brings up sponsorship. Okay. But if you remember from the meeting the week or 2 weeks ago, Mel brought up that idea. Nobody else mentioned that. Like Kimmy, I think, seconded the idea when it was brought up, but only after Mel said something. So when he was like, "Oh, bring the sponsorship," I was like, "Huh?" But that comes back up later in the episode. But I remember I heard that. I was like, "That's not how that went." So then we get Mel at the lawyer. I know Mel is tired of giving her money to a lawyer. So Mel wants to change her last name back to Rogers. She was like, as a branding thing, I've already started to call myself Melody Cherie. And she was like, up until the age of 22, All my accomplishments were under that name, which I can understand. And I can understand accomplishments after that with your degrees and stuff, and then getting married and then not being able to stand the person that you divorced. So the lawyer was like, well, in order for you to change your name, you can't be involved in any other lawsuit. Well, changing the name. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Well, changing the name. I was able to cook out my family and stuff today, so. The lawyer said, and Melody was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Essentially, like, whatever. So then she starts talking about all the issues in the custody case, how they wanted their phone records. She said the bank statement she understood. She was like, "I don't mind giving those so this way they can, ensure I can take care of my kids." She was like, "My social media password, so on and so forth." And even her lawyer was like, "I have never had a case when a judge has allowed so many things like this to happen." And that happens a lot in these conservative southern states. Um, Women are really put in a very difficult position when it comes to divorce, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to their family life. And it's designed to really just control women in this patriarchal system, and black women doubly so. And so it's really unfortunate. So then we get on the opposite end. Martell is meeting with this man who is a celebrity fashion designer. I've never heard of him, but oh well, it doesn't matter. So Martell is working on a suit line. And I hope that whatever suits come out, that he will let the him out just out. Just let it out. I want these suits to look like suits. Like not fucking like 80s workout body suits. But anyway, those tight ass suits he wears are not attractive. There is a particular segment of the population I think might be drawn to it, but I'll leave it there. Okay, but it's better than honestly that tacky country ass Steve Harvey line with all them bright ass colors and shit. Anyway, at Men's Warehouse. So he said he doesn't let the suits wear him. He wears the suits. Martell. Like some of this shit. I want Love and Marriage Huntsville. I just want y'all to stop with the fuck shit. Like y'all have the same storylines every season. Mel and Martell don't get along. Marcel and Tisha about to do. Kimmy and Maurice figuring out how to raise a kid because Maurice doesn't listen to Kimmy, and Kimmy just I like it's just for some reason it's entertaining, but it's old. It's just old. It's stale now. Anyway, getting back to this. So So they asked him his price range, and he says price range is about $600 to $700 for a suit, which I think is like normal. And the man was like, "Yeah, about 50% of men will be able to like afford that." And if not, I mean, there are people that will like invest in a suit. You know what I mean? So anyway, they're trying to help him. And excuse me, um, they're trying to help him considering Martell's inability, to pass his builder's license test. I think he needs to do more work in mathematics and business before he pursues any future business efforts, seeing that now Mel is not there to pick up the slack, and before he fucks it up. I'm sorry. He did too much of this. I took you out the classroom. I brought you into this. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be this. And now we see that he's a mess. He was like, "Yeah, I need to be more financially stable." Yeah, motherfucker, for somebody who claims he did all of this for his wife and shit, and now you can't hold on to this stuff yourself? Boy, bye. Anyway, Martell was like, "Yeah, my wine is doing well and will be in stores soon." And I was kind of like, "So, what do you mean it's doing well? If it's not in stores, how are we measuring this? By how many extras y'all get to come to events and, huh? That upscale party was empty." But anyway, Martell goes somewhere. So then we get Tiff and Lou. I'm so over them. I'm just over them, okay? So, Lou is waiting on her hand and foot as usual. The doctor confirmed that she needs to rest, drink water, but the baby is okay. Okay, fine. So she is working on her last business trip, she says. This bitch says she was invited to speak somewhere. Okay, nice, but whatever. But what does Tiffany really do? Like, what does she do? Like, we see her stir up mess, but we never see her at work. We see her talking about all the work she does and how she does so much, but she's always like sitting down at a coffee shop, at a restaurant, laying in the bed, but we don't see her doing this. And that's not true for the rest of the cast, with the exception of Kimmy. for obvious reasons. When you work in a hospital, people can't really follow you around, particularly as a nurse, right? Anyway, so honestly, I think this sort of superwoman act and I'm gonna do this is bullshit. This is bullshit. It's bullshit. I honestly, and I hate to say this, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but I really do wonder for somebody who was planning a baby, why she was planning a baby. You know, and I know, I mean, she's raised a kid before. I mean, obviously, they both have experience with this, but it just seems to me, I don't know. That's why I think this is an act. Anyway, so Mel has that market cornered on this show, so we don't need you faking Tiffany. Anyway, then her messy ass, after her husband is crying about her being sick and how she needs to do better, this bitch still finds the strength to ask about what happened outside the shower because she needs to know that apparently. So Lou was talking about how it was none of Marceau's business with the questions that Tiffany had been asking Sheree. Like they were mad about it, but it was still none of Marceau's business. He doesn't care if it was his spot. Pause. Sir, the point I made last week, it does matter. You act like Martell and Marceau rolled up on Tiffany on the street. Marceau just happened to jump in it. Yes, that was. See, yes. Did he admit that? Yes. But so Tiffany started this whole ball rolling, and Tiffany has a habit of doing it. This isn't like a one-off. So miss me with the bull, okay? So anyway, Tiffany says, "Look, I just want Mel and Martell to get in a better co-parenting relationship because that's really important to me in blended families." I'm like, we haven't seen y'all's whole family on TV at length at any point you've been on this show. Exactly. Okay, so Lou stops her and asks, "Well, how many times has Mel reached out to you about that kind of advice?" And so she was like, "No, I get your point. I get your point." And he was like, "How many?" She was like, "None." She said she never does that. And he was like, then he said, "People need to be receptive for you to give advice." And then he basically says, "Don't give me any shit." And I like, you should have been had this conversation with her. So next, we have the remix version of the comeback group known as the Black Expo. Oh my gosh, why do they keep showing up at these meetings? Mel, don't show up at these meetings no more. See if there's a way to get your name off all this shit so you can move on. Because it is clear you don't want to be there and I don't blame you. Now, Kimmy says that Mel, when they were talking, because they were the first two there for a meeting they did not call, even though Kimmy points out that Marceau and Tisha are notoriously late. And that is tacky, for lack of a better word. All right, anyway, so Kim says, so Mel was like, well, people wanted to dissolve the comeback group. And Kimmy was like, Mel, when you say people, you mean you. Okay, you wanted to dissolve the comeback group. She said when we asked to dissolve it last meeting, nobody wanted to accept you. You disagree. You felt like we should dissolve it. And Kimmy was making a point that look, we still pay taxes on this group's name and its purpose. So I feel like as long as we're doing that, then we should at least use the name. I understand that. So Kimmy starts, while they have all this time, because Marceau and Tisha still aren't there, neither is anybody else. Kimmy starts to ask Mel about whether or not she has a boo since she was on vacation and it was on social media. She had pictures but not of the person's face, even though Mel put it on social media. So Kimmy was like, well, if it's on social media, you know, we can ask. And Mel said, yes, you are entitled to ask. And I'm glad to tell you it's none of your business. Mel, you trolling. This is Mel's way of letting Martell know, fuck you. It doesn't matter that she's blocked Martell. You know, crazy people like Martell will find a way. 2, this is to let you know, yes, I have moved on with my life, but y'all ain't gonna know it. And whatever, it is what it is. So everybody else gets there. Mel gave Martell a quick hi, but that hi, what it read to me was, don't fuck with me. And you know what? I ain't mad. Fuck Martell. Martell, you don't get to call Mel childish when you done had a baby on her, done everything you could to just make her life. No. Sorry, sir. And even if it was, she deserves to have moments like that. Next. So the meeting finally starts. Hell, for all we know, an hour into when it was supposed to. Marceau and Tisha bring up the money issue. And Tisha says at the beginning, she has decided that they are not willing to pay anybody for participation in the Black Expo. And certainly not in this group. Ma'am, I'm trying to figure out, like, where are they getting off with this? Now, if this was something her and Marceau chose to do, fine. They're on this show. We know ain't shit in Huntsville but a Subway, a CVS maybe, and like a fucking grocery store, like a Piggly Wiggly or something. Anyway, so she says the community has supported all of them. And Tisha was like, and I think the money we raise should go back into the community, not in our pockets. And she's essentially pointing this at Mel. My thing is, Tisha, when you say the community has supported you, what do you mean? You mean by what? Buying their products? Yes, Mel has a skin line, a skincare line. Y'all all have different things y'all have sold, like, Black, the drink or whatever. People have bought those things from you. That is a form of support. Yes. But it's also a business. So I don't think you can do, I don't think what y'all are trying to equate is appropriate. I don't. It's not the same. So, when Tisha got done, Kimmy literally went down a list of things. Apparently she was taking notes as Tisha talked, because she called it her dissertation, and then she went down a list of things that were wrong with what Tisha said. She was like, well, first of all, the comeback group started in 2016, not in 2018, and you suggested that we started there. We didn't. She was like, this isn't a comeback group thing. This is a Black Expo thing. And one of the points Kimmy made in the confessional, which I didn't realize, she was like, this is a Black Expo thing. Black, BLAQUE. She was not BLACK. Because people have Black Expos all the time. So I was like, oh, she was like, so they're clearly promoting their business through this. And I was like, I did not know that. Did not see that anywhere. Now, all of a sudden, Martell swoops in and takes up for Mel and says that, okay, well, you should ask Mel what Mel wants to be paid. When she asked if we were getting paid last time, but don't shut her down. Ask her what her fee is. And then they show Martell in the confessional, and Martell was like, well, Mel is a public speaker. Like, that's one of her jobs. So yeah, I do think she should be paid for it. Shit, he probably thinking about them child support payments decreasing and stuff. But nevertheless, his point was made, because Mel, I could tell, was getting pissed and didn't want to give Tisha that energy. And I understand. I was not expecting that from Martell, but he was absolutely right. Even if he is worried about how much he won't have to pay for child support. Nevertheless, he's right. And they were like, well, nobody responded to the email. And Mel was like, I didn't get an email. First of all, how many times did y'all send out this email? Y'all know how this kind of stuff goes. It's comeback group stuff. She could have sent out a text. She could have done any of that. Like, okay, so ask her now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cut the bullshit. So Mel said, first of all, y'all weren't, and I said, I mean, well, in this video, it doesn't look like I said it before, but as I was watching it, Mel said, y'all weren't even thinking about sponsorships last meeting until I brought it up. So now y'all are using the idea of sponsorships and that money going back into the community to essentially put me down for asking for the money, but y'all weren't even thinking about it first. So that can't be your rationale. Like, that's bullshit. And I agree. So Marceau said if people want to get paid, as far as he's concerned, it's greed. Now, Mel's supposed to point out how nobody offered to sponsor her events, like Mel and Mimosas or something like that. And she is talking about support, not by showing up, but by sponsorship. That means putting money out for it. And Tisha was like, well, I tried, and I got escorted out of your event. Tisha, you weren't invited. She didn't ask you. She certainly didn't ask you to sponsor. And you didn't offer to sponsor. You showed up uninvited. Was it extra? Absolutely. Did she need to do that? No. But that's not the same thing. So Martell and Mel were basically like, you can't tell people what determines greed because you're asking to be paid for work. And considering the history of African Americans in this country, how dare you treat Black people when they ask to be paid for work like there's something wrong with it? Like, this is an event that doesn't have to happen. So if that's the case, if y'all putting on this event for the community, if that's how y'all feel, then just y'all do it. Why are y'all trying to bring everybody else? Why? Because Mel brings a crowd. Mel's popular. It's just that simple. People are trying to imitate Mel. I mean, not necessarily imitate her, but they're learning from her. Even I've learned stuff on this show that just from watching Mel. And I'm not an entrepreneur or anything. So, and I think they're right. You don't get to dictate what philanthropy looks like for us. So Marcel and Tisha are going to lose money by putting on this event. And Kimmy says that she doesn't believe that they're willing to lose money. This is just the way they're trying to market it to them so they'll participate. And Maurice is like, he's agreeing with Marceau and Tisha. Kimmy's on a different page. First of all, if y'all are married, I need y'all to come in on the same page. And Kimmy, I don't know what goes on with you and Maurice's communication or what, but it's not a good look. So the comeback group gets into another fight and becomes a dysfunctional mess. This is why Mel said to dissolve it. Whether her opinion was popular or not, amongst you all, she was right. Anyway, y'all have a great Saturday. Enjoy. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.